Malcolm Louie here. Welcome to Eversprint.com. Today we're speaking with Tim Hamilton, the founder and CEO of Praxent, a fast-growing custom software company and digital consultancy that helps their clients unlock greater profitability and valuation through strategic technology tools. Tim grew his company's revenue from 2.6 million in 2014 to 5.2 million in 2017, a 103% increase, and now they are on track to hit 7.3 million this year. Welcome to the call, Tim.
Thanks so much, Malcolm. It's great to be with you.
So Tim, how did you do it? How did you grow your company's sales so fast?
Malcolm, I've been at this for quite a while. I started the business almost 18 years ago in the year 2000. So I've been at it for quite a while. But you know what? The growth that we've achieved in the past 3 or so years, going back to 2015, originate from a single key decision that I made in 2015 after reading a book called Rocket Fuel. The bottom line is I decided to bring on a business partner in 2015. He started officially in the beginning of 2016, and we began in earnest sort of reinventing, re-architecting the business and setting it up for rapid growth. But the way that we divided our roles and responsibilities was absolutely key to the growth that has resulted since then. I'm happy to chat more, but at the end of the day, that was the decision that has enabled us to unlock our growth.
What was your business like before you brought in your partner, and how did it change so radically that really made the big difference?
So before Kevin came on, I was responsible for sales and marketing, and had made some progress building a team around me to take over delivery. But I really wasn't completely out of delivery. And the biggest thing that was on my shoulders was sales. So the decision to bring on Kevin had a lot to do, and the success that we had to follow had a lot to do with the decision to have him join the business and really take over sales and new business, which is his strength, what he's done in his career, what he's been really successful at. So he came on in early 2016. And within a few months was completely owning all new business and all sales, which really enabled me to focus on marketing and lead gen. It turned out I was really excited and passionate and creative in this area. It was the part of the business that gave me the most energy to focus on. And with Kevin focusing on sales, I had the confidence to just explore and deepen my skills in marketing and lead gen. So the combination of that and Kevin's unique ability really is what enabled us to grow as a result.
Fantastic. Now, you said you came to this realization, this aha moment when you read the book Rocket Fuel. I'm not familiar with that book. What about that book gave you that aha moment?
The core idea in the book is that for every major, successful business, for every business that succeeds, there are two leaders at the heart of that business. Now, we often only hear about the one leader. The book calls this kind of leader the visionary, the person who's out front, who's the tip of the spear, so to speak. So for Microsoft, it's Bill Gates. For Apple, it's Steve Jobs. For Disney, it's Walt Disney. None of those businesses, however, according to the book, would have succeeded without the second leader, the leader behind the curtain, so to speak. The book calls this leader the integrator. For Walt Disney, it was his brother Roy. For Steve Jobs, it was his integrator, Steve Wozniak, and obviously Paul Allen was Bill Gates' integrator. The idea is that the integrator works with the visionary to disqualify all the bad ideas from the good ideas. The visionary produces 20 or 25 new ideas every single month, and if the business pursues all those ideas, while they may be creative, they can be very, very destructive, causing a lot of disharmony, a lack of accountability, a lot of confusion. The integrator helps the visionary to filter and focus, determining which of those ideas are good and which of those ideas we really ought to disqualify. And so I read that book, and while I had really resisted the idea of bringing on a partner historically, this book helped me to see in really clear relief that the time had come. I really desperately needed to bring on an integrator to help me to focus on my strengths, rely on my strengths, and rely on him for his.
I found it interesting that you didn't feel that you needed someone to help you on the fulfillment side of your business. That was something that was pretty much buttoned down, nailed down for you?
Well, what I've learned since then is that what a business needs for fulfillment changes as the business grows. And, you can think of this as the different chapters through growth. And I think most businesses probably encounter challenges, gaps and shortages in their fulfillment area and their delivery area as they grow, and that certainly has been the case for us. But I do believe that we have the ability to identify those and shore up those gaps. The thing that really is particularly challenging in my business, the bottleneck to our growth, so to speak, is in the sales process. Now, I would say, Malcolm, that this is probably different for every business. Depending on that business environment, that the business model, the bottleneck that the founder really needs to focus on, may not always be sales. It likely is not always sales. Maybe it is in delivery. But in my particular case, in the consulting and professional services business, dealing with the customer at the very, very, very end, very beginning of the relationship, navigating them through their insecurities, their fears, their challenges, helping them to really diagnose the core issue that they're facing in business. Those are extremely difficult conversations to have. You have to have a very, very sophisticated business developer to do that. A consultant, frankly. This is really, really high level work. And so for us, that was our bottleneck and the most important thing for me to remove myself from in order to unlock scalability in the business.
Right. For Kevin, did he bring a huge Rolodex to help you generate and close new business? Or is he just a fantastic salesperson who's able to do all those things that you just talked about to develop the relationship and work through what challenges the clients may have or prospects may have at that time?
There's another book that I'm thinking about that I read just before Kevin joined called Predictable Revenue, written by Aaron Ross. In this book, Aaron puts forward the idea that there are different types of business development or sales experts. There's the opener, there's the closer, and then there's the person who serves the customer. And that historically we have looked to sales professionals to fulfill all three roles, to have the ability to open via a Rolodex, to introduce us to a new client, to close that client into a customer, and then to serve that customer throughout the life of their relationship with us. The book Predictable Revenue says that this leads us to a lot of trouble and really encourages readers to specialize. The book suggests that no, there is a kind of salesperson who's really good at the open. This is a fast conversation, somebody who is extremely extroverted. The connector, the Rolodex, these are the types of attributes that we look to, the skills and strengths that we look to an opener to provide. Kevin is a closer, so he is really, really skilled at the consultative conversation. And for him to focus on closing, we knew that we had a gap in the open. We had to find a way for the business to generate leads predictably and sustainably. And that's where I went off and focused. So that Kevin could focus on lead conversion, I decided to spend my time on lead generation. And so it was a little different than what you suggested, but still we were able to make it work by playing to our strengths.
Great. Now, were you looking for a closer? Is that what you were looking for when you found Kevin, or were you just looking for someone to help you on the sales side in general?
The funny thing is that in retrospect, if I'm completely honest with you, I can only see why this worked and explain it in retrospect. I didn't plan it all out this way. I don't think Kevin and I knew exactly what was going to happen and exactly how. In 2015, 2016, when we did this, we both read Rocket Fuel, and we were so convinced about the premise of the book that we felt like we would somehow complement each other. We'd both been in this industry for a long, long time. We'd both delivered projects for several hundred clients, and we were very, very much aligned from a core values and principles perspective. And it was really it was that brought us together. And how we should organize, how we should divide and split our roles and responsibilities, that really only became clear after about 8 or 9 months of working together. It was a very, very happy coincidence that it all worked. Not to say that we didn't do a lot of careful planning and that this wasn't all, I guess, carefully vetted. We certainly vetted it, but the plan didn't become obvious until after the fact.
Right. For the growth that your company has experienced, how much of it came from finding new clients and closing new clients, and how much of it came from generating more business from your existing client base?
The vast majority of it came from new clients.
Okay.
Absolutely can say that. Again, being able to go off and focus on lead generation got us into many more doors and got us into more conversations. And that was absolutely critical. Now your question is an important one, obviously, because there's a ton of revenue that's on the table. There's a lot of services that we can provide to clients once we are in relationship, but getting into relationship is by far the hardest part when you're in professional services.
Can you share how you generated more leads for Kevin to finally close at the very end? What was your lead generation process?
So yeah, for us, we've just really focused on content marketing and digital marketing. We wanted to take a lot of the success that we've helped our clients to develop over the years, and we wanted to tell their story. We wanted to share about the wins and share about our insights that we've developed along the way. And that's where I've focused since Kevin has joined on is really in the inbound marketing channel.
Okay. So how do the numbers work out on the inbound side? How are you driving? Do you have any sort of paid advertising at all going on to drive people to your content, or is this all from organic searches?
It's a mix. We do a mix of digital. And the other thing I'll say is that it's never static. One surprising thing is that there's a ton of dynamism in that channel particularly. So we're constantly optimizing it, tweaking it, improving it.
Can you share with me perhaps the things that you tried and experimented with that didn't work out so great in terms of generating new leads?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So one of the things we tried, as I shared with you earlier, is that we read this book, Predictable Revenue, and in that book they talk a lot about how to hire an opener. So this is a uniquely skilled salesperson who's very, very good at introducing a business to prospects out there in the market. We've tried to do this 4 times. We've outsourced it several times. We've hired employees internally to do it several times. And what that work looks like is pounding the phone or sending a ton of email out to the marketplace, trying to get us intros and appointments. That's one of the things that we were most committed to because I'd seen competitors doing it successfully. I'd seen it working in the marketplace, and I thought, man, if we just keep trying, somehow, some way, we're going to unlock this. So we tried 4 times, 4 separate attempts over the period of about 18 months before we ultimately decided, you know what, for whatever reason, this is not in our business. And instead of just being stubborn about it, we're gonna pivot and try something else. Beyond trying outbound, before selecting the next campaign or the next channel that we really went after, we used a framework called Jobs to be Done, which was developed by Tony Ulwick and really popularized by Clayton Christensen. Jobs to be done theory basically says that the key to marketing, to unlocking business growth and marketing, is in really understanding at a very detailed level the circumstance that your target customer is in when they begin looking for a solution that you could provide them with. And we started doing that. We started thinking really deeply about, well, the circumstance that our prospect was in. What kind of a business are they working for? What level in the business are they at? Who is their boss? What are their greatest insecurities? What are they losing sleep over? And in the process of brainstorming and thinking a lot about that, we also thought about, well, where would they go to find a solution? And what event in their professional life or maybe even personal life would trigger them to look for a solution that we could provide? And it was in that exercise that helped us to be creative about innovating the way that we approach marketing.
Can you share what those innovations were? Like, what are the event triggers that you found to be key toward finding businesses that are a good fit for your company's services?
Yeah. One of the things that we came up with was that if a business is either trying to fill a position in their recruiting process, or they've just made a new hire of a particular kind, those are very public signals or indicators that a business might be innovating or looking to innovate in a particular area. A secondary source, which was a little bit less effective, was press releases that business was putting out there that were basically announcing a new focus. Oftentimes when a press release would come out, it would maybe be a bit too late. A new hire or an ad to make a new hire are often better indicators. You can also learn a lot about a business just by reading their Glassdoor reviews, looking at recent departures, or also following M&A news. If a private equity company has recently made an acquisition or several, you better bet that those businesses are likely to make an investment of some kind into technology. These are all publicly observable events and data that you can see and do a lot with.
Can you give an example of you see a company having a job opening for a certain position, or maybe just an announcement of how they just hired someone? How would you and Kevin then take it to the next step? How would you perhaps reach out to them and begin the conversation?
I think probably, as we've all experienced, there's just such a high volume of solicitation that's happening at this point. I think there was an estimate that we see on average 3,500 ad impressions or advertisements per day. So we've all just sort of reached our max volume level. I would encourage anyone who's trying to do this work to get creative about how to personalize that outreach, because the only way to break through that noise is to either hit a prospect with incredible accuracy that really resonates with their unique circumstance, or to personalize it in an uncommon way. Those are ways that, at least in a B2B complex sale, we've been much more successful than when we've sort of sprayed and prayed. We've taken the same message and delivered it to a large target that just hasn't delivered results for us.
Right. Can you share some of the different ways that you've done outreach that has worked really well, and perhaps share some of the ways that you thought would work and it just totally flopped?
It's inefficient to personalize. Right. It requires a lot of extra work. And in a complex B2B sale, the most effective thing that you can do, I think, is to share with the target prospect, the person who's going to be receiving this outreach, whether it's a phone call, a voicemail, or a handwritten note, an email, a LinkedIn message. The best thing that you can do is, an effective thing that you can do, and that is relatively easy to scale, is to share other successes that you've had in their category, in their industry, using names of companies that they're familiar with, that they either look up to, are perhaps threatened by, or are aware of. That's one technique, is basically like showcase, case studies with, if possible, hard quantifiable numbers, data, saying, we worked with this company that you're probably familiar with because they're in your category, and we helped drive this kind of ROI. Would it make sense for us to talk?
Right. Have your clients been pretty open about having you create case studies about them and sharing the results you've generated for them?
Yeah, I mean, most there's some exceptions. When a project is so confidential and has such sort of special strategic value to the client business, then some clients are a little bit leery. But in the majority of cases, we're able to create case studies that our clients are proud for us to publish, and we haven't had a lot of difficulty getting that out.
Right. Fantastic. In regards to your sales process, can you outline what your process is like? Who does the initial contact? Is it Kevin that does the first contact, or is it you? And at what point does Kevin come in and do the consultative selling to close the deal?
This has changed recently. We've hired on an account or client coordinator, because lead flow has gotten to the point where we're not able to process them all ourselves in a timely manner, and so we've started to build around this as a competency, so that we can serve those prospects at a really, really early stage and get them the information that they're seeking. If we're not a good fit, we're really candid with them about that at the very, very beginning, so that we can help them to find a good fit, either referring them to a better solution, or doing some brainstorming to help them find a better solution that we might not have as a connection. But if in the process it seems like we would be a great fit, then it goes to Kevin in the next round conversation.
Right. What's the typical sales cycle? How long does it take from beginning to end before a deal gets done and you're able to start working on a project?
Really, nothing is typical. It varies so much. To give you a number, I could say 90 to 120 days, and you'll have outliers on either side of that.
Right. Okay. In regards to the opportunities you're seeing going forward, do you see any big trends that are that you want to position your company to take advantage of, or perhaps reposition your company so that the trends don't cause any disruption for your business?
Our focus, the trend that we see in the marketplace and the focus strategically for us is that the buyer journey in every single category is changing. Digital technology is disrupting the way people buy everything. So to share a couple of examples, if you look at Carvana, for example, revolutionizing the way that we buy cars. Um, Zillow and Redfin are working tirelessly to revolutionize the way that we buy homes. We recently built and launched a product in the B2C residential real estate space called Bungalow Homes. And they're doing that as well in residential real estate. And so our focus is really to help businesses to remove friction from their sales process, to remove friction from the buyer journey with custom technology. We see this trend only accelerating and not slowing down. Other examples include, if you remember way back in the day before we had Expedia, Travelocity, the way you had to buy a plane ticket. It's a ridiculous example because it seems like it was so far away or so long ago. But just think about the transformation that's occurred in the travel industry with sites like Expedia, Travelocity, or Priceline. This has happened a lot in B2C. And we're taking those innovations and helping B2B, primarily B2B service companies to apply them. And that's the trend we only see accelerating going forward.
Can you give an example or perhaps a quick summary of one of your case studies where you have done that, where you've helped a company reduce the friction in their sales process?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you one that has both a B2B and a B2C aspect. NRG several years ago saw a real opportunity to help their homeowners go solar. They're a residential utility company based out of Houston. They sell retail electricity. They saw solar energy produced on the rooftops of their customers as a real competitive threat to their market. And they decided that they wanted to do something about that. So they worked with us to build a sales enablement platform that was ultimately used by over 3,500 sales reps that were all independently employed and running in other small businesses. These are basically solar installer businesses, like let's just make up a business, Acme Solar in Tucson, Arizona. These guys would sell and install solar panels to homeowners in Tucson, Arizona. NRG would provide a lease via Acme Solar to that homeowner. And we built the technology that would enable Acme Solar and their 10 or 11 person sales team to effectively estimate and bid and then manage the lease process for those leases so that they were able to sell a heck of a lot more solar panels because they weren't shelling out. The customer wasn't shelling out $20, $30, or $40,000 for the installation. Instead, they were paying, call it $68 to $120 a month for that solar lease. Through this process, NRG was able to sell $80 million of solar leases only 8 months after we launched. It grew so incredibly rapidly, far exceeding their expectations for the program. It was a huge success for them and for clean, green energy.
Right. Now, when you worked with NRG on this project, did you already have the technology and the capabilities to do it all in-house, or is it all somewhat new to your team and there's a bit of your team having to acquire new knowledge and maybe bring on board new people, new partners to execute the project?
Yeah, in almost all cases, there is some aspect of new and innovative, but at this point we've done over 300 projects, and we've done everything from embedded hardware to software only, from mobile to desktop. We've done a lot, and we've seen a lot, and certainly earlier on in the business, when I first started 18 years ago, there was a lot of fake it until you make it, and I'm really, really grateful for the for the risks that the early stage clients took. I'm happy to say that we we've never let a client down due to failure to get to the other side of a technical barrier, so to speak. But in some cases, we've gotten creative about how to deliver. The reality in this business is that businesses everywhere are under a lot of pressure to remain innovative, and just going to an off-the-shelf solution really it doesn't cut it if it's the way that your customer buys from you, unless you're implementing Shopify for a pretty standard e-commerce experience, and that's not what we do. Oftentimes, in order to create a unique and innovative buyer journey, you have to go and build a custom.
Right. What now? There are two philosophies on that, right? I mean, you're in one camp where you are providing custom solutions to meet the needs of your clients exactly, and then there's the other camp where you provide a standardized solution and you offer it to those who need it and can use it, and then everyone else will find a solution elsewhere. So what's your thinking between being a bespoke software consultancy company as opposed to offering a single well-defined product or service?
An off-the-shelf standardized solution is often a really great way to go if what you're solving is an internal problem. For example, creating a records management system or a customer relationship management system, a loan origination system. I mean, there's many examples of primarily internally oriented tools and systems that businesses need to thrive. A general ledger is another great example. It's in those areas that going to an off-the-shelf solution makes the most sense. And oftentimes we have people coming to us with internal issues. They want to streamline this business process, or they want to, remove human effort from that process. And those are the leads and the opportunities that we typically refer on to others, because we really do see the opportunities as better suited or fulfilled by an off-the-shelf solution. What we're focusing on is really in the way that our client's brand, treats the customer through the purchase process. That is inherently competitive. It is inherently differentiating. So it is in that way that we do not believe it's prudent for clients to go to an off-the-shelf solution unless their business is highly transactional and fairly commoditized. Like I said, an e-commerce business, a retail business, it does not make sense for them to come to Praxent because they're better served by something like a Shopify.
Right. From going back to the beginning of our conversation, you shared with me earlier how in 2017 your company did 5.2 million. In 2018, you're looking at almost bumping it up by 50%, looking on track to hit about 7.3 million for the year. What big changes drove that 50% increase?
We've
If
done
any.
we've done a lot of work to build out a human-centered design practice at Praxent. What that means is that instead of designing software around the technical constraints or the system architecture or the software requirements, we take a step back and really focus on the user. The user, in our case, is oftentimes the client's prospect or the client's customer. We spend time to really understand them to an uncommon degree in pulling UX research, qualitative and quantitative research. To actually observe, what's really powerful is if you can actually observe that user in their context of use, to see what creates the trigger for them to look for a solution that could ultimately lead them to our client's business for a solution. What's the circumstance? What are the pain points? What are the points of friction? Do they have any emotional insecurity as they go? And it's in really understanding that that we can help our clients to make strategic and differentiated decisions about what ultimately needs to be built in their solution. And adding that as a practice area for us in the last 2 years has been absolutely key. We've become much more consultative with the work that we're doing with our clients. They're bringing us in to design the solution as opposed to just building a solution that they've already designed.
Right. For your plans beyond 2019, for your plans beyond 2018, where are the opportunities that you see? What's the next step to take your company to the next level?
A lot of what we've been talking about is really for us is really the focus for us in 2019 and beyond. It's to drill into this focus of removing friction from an otherwise painful buyer journey, especially for those B2B service businesses that are struggling to get their prospects and clients across the finish line. We are experiencing an unprecedented amount of demand right now, and businesses everywhere are feeling like they can't scale up quite as much or quite effectively as they've been able to. They've sort of hit their ceiling, and they're looking for innovative ways of transforming that buyer journey with technology. We're going to just deepen our focus and specialization in that area and continue to employ and deepen our ability within the realm of human-centered user experience research and design. That's really it for us. Staffing, recruiting, building and organizing a team, that's a challenge that anyone who's in business understands, right? And and especially being in Austin, it's a difficult labor market. So that will also be a core thrust for us going forward.
Two final questions for you, Tim. One, for your clients, who are your ideal clients? Who are the ones that you prefer to work with that you can help the most? And two, what's the best way for those people out there who are your ideal clients to contact your team?
So thank you very much for asking. For us, it's somebody on at a leadership or an executive level at a typically B2B service company that is struggling with the excess of demand. They've got more than enough demand, but their business systems cannot scale to meet the demand. They're also, as an individual, looking for an opportunity to sort of reach up and grab that brass ring. They see or conceive of an innovative way, a transformative way of improving the way business gets done in their industry, and they've been burned by maybe outsourcing it or offshoring it in the past, and they want to find a really reliable and competent partner that will give them the confidence to go ahead and make that take that leap. We start small. We start as small as we possibly can with a low-risk initial investment to vet and validate that their concept actually will work. If we can't prove with a relatively high degree of certainty that your concept, your vision for the business will generate an ROI, in other words, profit from software, then we'll share that research unapologetically and candidly with our prospects and encourage them to keep looking. And oftentimes we'll help them come up with alternatives. In terms of starting a project, the best way to begin the process for us is to go to our website, praxent.com, and click on the Contact Us button. If people want to have a conversation directly, they're welcome to email me as well, tim@praxent.com. That's Tim as in Timothy, @praxent.com. And we'll like I said, start with a very, very small project to test and validate the idea and then build from there.
In terms of your ideal clients, is there a particular size of business, a minimum revenue size? That'd be one of your requirements?
The way that we think of it is a mid-market company that's like right in the middle of their industry. In some industries that it may be a $20 or $50 million company. In others, it might be a $200 million company. Usually, the projects that we're working on begin at a range of about $50,000 to do the UX research and validation, and go up beyond that, depending on how aggressive a business wants to get with their innovation in 2018 or 2019. The range is usually anywhere from about 5 million in revenue on the small side to several hundred million on the large side.
All right, good. That's helpful to know and helpful to clarify for those people who are interested in reaching out to your company. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tim, and sharing how you grew your company so fast.
Thanks very much, Malcolm.
We've been speaking with Tim Hamilton, the founder and CEO of Praxent, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing companies or to learn how we can increase your firm's high-ticket sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.